Hello, fellow Kryptonians. This is Tyler here for the Krypton Report / also the Requel Pitch podcast. That's right. Requel is where we take a movie, series, franchise, whatever, and we kind of pitch ideas like, what would I do if I was in control? Would I reboot it, make a sequel, a midquel, a sidequel? What would I do if I was in charge of continuing the franchise? And a lot of the pitches are just me kind of pitching ideas, and I like to record it in the car because it's kind of a free, fun time, and I make it low-key and fun. But this pitch is a crossover because this is an idea I had with Superman&Lois, which has been one of the best Superman shows, if not the best of all time. And I know that can be argued, I know, but we had an episode where we ranked Superman TV properties, and we settled that. Check that out. It's on YouTube as well as through our Krypton Report podcast feed. Now, what I've done here is I looked at some things with the creators of Superman&Lois and how they stated that the original plan was to be 7 seasons. And I said, okay, what would my pitches be for seasons 5, 6, and 7? And so what I want you to do is I want you to listen to this. You've had to have watched the finale of Superman&Lois, and we know that there's a break and a 1 year later gap. So let's start after the 1 year later. Okay? After the wedding of John Henry and Lana. That would be, let's say that is our closer for season 4. Okay? Well, that and the boys getting their super suits and the idea that Clark couldn't do it alone. We see the final shot is the super family flying. Okay? There's your closeout for season 4. Now, let's take that ending thing. Let's say that, boom, just throw that forward. That's the end of season 7. Okay? Only difference is now we're going to tell a little bit of story about what happened in between. Because part of the way that they designed that ending is we know there's more story. After the events of his death and everything, like we know the idea is there's more story. There's a lot that's left to tell. Like it's a property that you could take and you could continue on down the future, like in comics or whatever, with other adventures of these characters. I mean, people have argued, like, that doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think at some point, because in the end he says he forgives Luthor. I think at some point in his life, he and himself found a way to forgive Lex. Not saying that he forgave him that moment in death. And a lot of, I think, the way that Clark, when he dies at the end, is he's seeing people how he best remembered them. And it's kind of like working backwards. He'll remember that he's remembering his children as that special time they were teenagers. And this whole thing with the family came out. And when John and Lana got married, it's kind of like these pinnacle moments. He's saying goodbye to him. He's going backwards in life. And it's kind of a nice, beautiful send-off. And the one thing is they don't talk about the boys when they got to be older. What if they continue to be superheroes or not? If they were working for the DOD, like I said, that's stuff that's kind of left for interpretation. And they didn't talk about Nat. Like they just completely, after that shot of her flying with the super family, Nat is not ever mentioned or discussed again. So, but season 5. Here's my pitch. Season 5. 1 year later, we see the Superman. Brainiac. The world's on fire. A world without. Brainiac uses Milton Fine as a cog as the basically form that Brainiac then inhabits, much like they did on Krypton. And that would make my Brainiac tie to Krypton. It would be the same Brainiac because I like that show, and in my head canon, Krypton's the prequel to this. Superman would get his new cape with the S on the back. It would be senior year for the boys and how they adjust, not taking advantage of their powers, Jordan fighting temptations, John and his girlfriend Candace do split. And then they, of course, would graduate. John and Lana trying to manage their life. He wants to, being a dad and working for the DOD and what they're going to do. Clark and Lois. Here's a big one. We go to Metropolis for an episode. We get Jimmy. They go to the Ace of Clubs and we introduce Bibbo. Gosh, can't talk. But through machinations of Talrow / Morgan Edge, Clark now owns the Daily Planet. And in this, we would start the For All Seasons Foundation. So Clark has to figure out who's going to be the managing editor of the Daily Planet. And this is where I would toy with the idea of maybe having Lois be the managing editor of the Daily Planet. What do we do? And we would kind of explore that. And if we wanted to move into, with the boys graduating and everything, that they could move back to Metropolis, but they're not sure now that everyone knows who Superman is. Eventually, Lois attempts it, tries it, works it, but Jimmy Olsen becomes the editor of the Daily Planet. Nat would be working alongside John, adjusting to life, and of course, she would follow suit with the school. And then, with Brainiac, basically set the world on fire and make it so that the world's going dark. Everything shuts down. There's, everything that we own is powered by some sort of algorithm or AI or computer. And if all that goes away, we're in chaos. Potentially could bring back a new Maxwell Lord, or we could introduce, I would love to do Ted Cord, but that's far-fetched. Okay, season 6 in a nutshell. Nat is in college. The boys deciding what to do should they split up or go together? They try different schools for college, but it doesn't really work because of their bond, and they're still doing their superheroing. They both end up going to Metropolis University together. And they suffer, and they have issues there because of who they are. Jordan eventually tries to start working on online school, as he likes to be a little bit more away from people, and gives him the freedom that he needs. Lana and John's marriage is strained because of the choices the DOD, but then John decides that he leaves the DOD with Nat. He can permanently relocates to Smallville, and he sets up Steelworks in Smallville, building the town's economy and being one of the biggest industrial complexes, and basically helps revive the town, much like they wanted to in season 1. Now, the villain for this season is Mongol. He comes to Earth looking to find Superman, and he uses a device to kind of hide his form. So he has like a human form before the big Mongol. Maybe an appearance by Lobo. That would be Lobo, once again, I'd tie it to Krypton, as we have a battle arena where we have the best fighters. And we can kind of do a little bit like an episode 2 of more of like a World War thing, pulling from the recent run. But Clark is losing his powers, and he is trying to juggle his life as a celebrity, and his sons are stepping up more, and we see more of the sons doing the saves as Clark as Superman falls back, but eventually they are able to defeat Mongol, sending him back. Season 7. I think season 6 we would also introduce Vandal Savage, and I think it'd be interesting to do an angle where we don't know it's Vandal Savage, and he's running for president, and it kind of connects season 6 and season 7 with Vandal Savage. Just a new angle on things. Season 7, the villain would be a Darkseid, because would be Darkseid, not a Darkseid. That's what Todd and them teased, but we'd have the arrival of Kara. She is 16. She's now the boys. The boys are are young adults, and the boys are now kind of helping taking care of Kara as she's younger than they are. Clark learns more of his past with Kara. Clark takes on the more Jonathan Kent role as he is becoming more human. His decision and what it means to be immortal. He has wanted his sons to take over as he becomes, human. And basically we have a ideology battle with light versus dark, with Darkseid. Superman does have to fight Darkseid, but uses a Kryptonian battle armor mixed with Steelworks armor, as we have an all-out kind of big war with the Super family. And the Darkseid. Sorry, I cannot talk. The boys become who they were meant to be here, and more fully formed heroes on their own. And Clark officially retires from superheroing and just kind of does little things, but lets the boys take over as Clark works on his foundational work with Lois. And that's just some of the ideas I have, not really mapping out all the seasons. And then, of course, at the end, you would then bookend it the same way they did on the series. Maybe a tweak here and there, but just some kind of over ideas I had just for fun. I love the series, love the show. But there you have it.